Thanks for listening to Entre Nido, the show where we help you live the Nido life. By listening to Entre Nido, you'll learn how to develop multiple streams of income. You'll hear amazing stories and takeaways from professionals in their field. And you'll learn more about yourself and how you're wired. The average person spends 90,000 hours at work in their lifetime. Student loan debt is at an all-time high, and 41% of all divorce is based on finances. If you feel like you're surviving, but you wouldn't exactly say you're thriving, then you've come to the right place. Whatever stage of life you're in, Entre Nido is here to help you be a better entrepreneur. Break out of that rat race and start living your Nido life today. And now introducing your Nido host, Matt Neff.
Welcome back to Entre Nido. On today's show, I talk with retired Navy SEAL Lieutenant Commander and all-around tough guy, Iron Ed Hiner. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the show, everybody. So glad you're listening in. Today, we're going to be talking to Ed Hiner, Iron Ed, as they call him, about breaking out of a victim mindset. We're going to learn about naked soldiering. That's a real thing. And we're going to learn a brand new acronym called VUCA, V-U-C-A. Here's a little bit more on Ed. Ed Hiner was born and raised in Virginia's Blue Ridge Mountains. He grew up with a thirst for competition and developed an indomitable will to win that would serve him well in his life's work as a warrior and a leader. Ed graduated Basic Underwater Demolition / SEAL, or BUDS, training in 1993 with a class of 189. He later attended Officer Candidate School, where he earned his commission as a Distinguished Honor Graduate and Class President. He has an acclaimed 20-year career as a Navy SEAL, during which he made 9 major deployments on 5 continents. Twice awarded the Bronze Star with the V for Valor and Combat Leadership, Ed commanded hundreds of direct combat missions and low-visibility operations in Iraq, Afghanistan, Southeast Asia, and Central America. He led BUDS instructors, managed the training program for the West Coast SEAL teams, and was in charge of all SEAL basic and advanced training. Ed now offers up this vast experience based as a coach and consultant specializing in leadership, team building, mental toughness, resiliency, and personal conflict resolution. He utilizes the principles from his book, First, Fast, Fearless: How to Lead Like a Navy SEAL. For more info on Ed, check out edhiner.com or check out Ed's podcast, Sealpreneurship. And lastly, Ed's book that we mentioned before, First, Fast, and Fearless. If you've been enjoying the show, I want to challenge you with these 3 simple things. One is if you could share this episode on social media would be incredible. Number 2, leave us a written review on iTunes. Written reviews are the lifeblood of our show. It helps us get out to more people. And number 3, support us with a one-time or monthly gift through Patreon at patreon.com/EntreNido. That's ENTRE. NEATO. Thank you for your support, guys. Thank you again for listening, and we give you the toughest man I've ever spoken with, other than my dad, Ed Hiner. Welcome back to Entre Nido. My guest today is retired Navy SEAL Lieutenant Commander Ed Hiner. Mr. Hiner, welcome to the show.
Matt, thank you, brother.
I'm super pumped. We could go a ton of different directions. I'm really excited today to talk about the Naked Warrior, Unleashed SEAL Principles, which is awesome. And in the podcast world, this is like a gold mine of a title, because whenever you have the word naked in any title, it's going to draw a ton of traffic. So we love it. We love it. So I'm excited to talk with you today. Thank you so much for coming on. Before we get into today's episode, I would love for you to promote anything you'd like to drive our listeners to, websites, books, anything you'd like to promote.
Yeah. How about the book, my best-selling book, First, Fast, Fearless: How to Lead Like a Navy SEAL. And visit my website, edhiner, HINER.com.
Awesome. And so recently you started a new entrepreneur direction, and it's called Sealpreneurship. Is there anywhere on like social media or where people can find out more about that? I know we're going to talk about it some today in the show, but is there anywhere else you wanted to direct them to?
No, it's so new. I mean, we have we have it lined up, but it's such a new program that no, we haven't formalized it on it yet. We were doing our first prototype, and as an entrepreneur world, prototyping is critical.
Yep.
So we're doing our first prototype right now. We just finished our first week of the summer camp for San Pasqual Academy, and here in San Diego, where it's a fall for high school. The kids live on campus, and we finished the first week with absolute raving reviews, which was very good, because a lot of times entrepreneurship is about you fail and fail and fail, but this was amazing. The first week was unbelievable.
So cool. Well, Ed, I'd love to learn more about your backstory. We were introduced through a mutual friend, Judd Hoekstra, who we've had on the show before. Judd's awesome, and the Ken Blanchard company is just incredible people. Love to hear your backstory, kind of how you got to where you are today.
I kind of started off, I grew up in Blue Ridge, Virginia. Okay. And I'll go through this real quick. And I was pretty much a poor kid. My parents had gone before I was 12. So I grew up with my grandmother, and I had a lot of adversity in my life, which was perfect for me looking back on it, because that gave me kind of the resiliency and the ability to bounce back. And, I luckily got a baseball scholarship. I worked hard at that. And then when I finished college, I found a person, I met a Navy SEAL. Probably just luck, but I was at a storage unit helping a lady out. Me and a friend of mine was helping her out. And a guy that was in the Navy, he's like, "Hey, man, I'll help you guys." Because this lady had nothing. She had 3 kids. She'd been evicted from her house. So we moved her whole house. The guy I met was a Navy SEAL. For 24 hours, he helped us. He was on leave. So he helped us pack up this woman's house and put it in the storage unit. And after that, the lights went on, and I became a Navy SEAL. So I think my childhood had a lot to do with that adversity. And then I spent 20 years in the SEAL teams. I did 9 deployments, three separate wars multiple times, which I'm very fortunate to have done. I started writing books when I got out, and I'm working on my next one right now. On contract with McGraw-Hill. So, yeah, just very, very fortunate in my life, man.
Wow, that's awesome. That mindset's incredible. Like, I love what you said at the beginning, and it's unfortunate you said you lost both your parents before you were 12. Is that right?
Well, yeah, they went off in different directions. They had their own life to lead.
Oh, wow. So just to have that, and the fact that you had a pivotal moment of, you could have said like, well, woe is me, and this is so sad, and this is my lot in life, and I was born on the wrong side of the tracks or whatever. And instead you're like, saw it as an opportunity. That right there, if everybody just stopped listening right now, which they're not going to because we're just getting started, but if they would have just adapted that mindset right now, it's game over. Like, you'll be unstoppable.
That is what I teach, and that's what we're teaching children, is that you make a choice to how you see problems. It starts with a choice in the mind, and then how you deal with it, self-talk, visualization, and how you basically write your own story.
Wow.
So yeah,
I love
very
that.
powerful stuff.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, let's get into today's topic, the Naked Warrior. I am intrigued by this title, Unleashed SEAL Principles. I would love to learn anything and everything you would like to share with me and our guests listening at this point.
Well, if most people, when they think of Navy SEALs, they think of like the Bin Laden raid, right? They think of cool, sexy lasers, high-tech equipment.
Yes.
But the Naked Warrior, the word came, the actual, it doesn't mean anything vulgar. It's actually came from World War II. Before there were actual SEALs, we had underwater demolition teams. And these guys, before Normandy, Okinawa, all the major invasion, before the invasion happened, UDTs, predecessors of the SEAL, would swim in off the ships a couple miles in. All they had was shorts, fins, a mask, and a big bag of bombs. And their job was to clear the beach. They would blow up obstacles so that landing craft could slam into the beach and guys could storm the beach. And the regular Navy people didn't know what they were. So they were like, "You guys are naked warriors," because they didn't have anything. They had shorts.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we grew up from. And, if you look at our training facility, people think all this technology, but our training facility is our basic training facility is, it's basic. It's rudimentary. There's sand, there's cold water, heavy logs, obstacle courses, and a lot of sweat. There's nothing high tech about it, because the Naked Warrior concepts and the principles are that you have to train the mind before you put anything on it, right? So any equipment or anything like that, that's all fine, but you have to train the brain.
Wow.
And it's not brainwashing. It's just teaching people the mindset of that Naked Warrior, I can do attitude, that get after it, that pioneer spirit that the country relies on us to have. That's what we train them to do. And it takes about 6 months for us, but it's very effective.
So what are some things that you guys see, like with 6 months of training? Is this like all day, every day? What, like, I know you mentioned training and obstacle courses and sand and all that. Like, what does that look like?
Well, the basic training, BUDS, Basic Underwater Demolition / SEAL training, is about 6 months long. But it's a very long day, but there are weekends off. Most people don't know that because your body has to recover. But only thing we really do is that we're training them to learn how to think and to master being innovative, which is entrepreneurship, right? They have to be creative, innovative, and be able to endure a lot of actual pain, which is one thing. But and fear. So we do a lot of good stuff with them.
I'm so intrigued. I ask a lot of our guests this kind of mindset question because there's these fears of failure, there's these fears of success, fears of being a fraud or being found out. Like, what are some negative mindsets or negative thinking that you have maybe experienced in your life or people that you've trained with?
One is being a victim. Most people, and we understand. One of the things we teach students is accountability, and not accountability like some people think. It's accountability is for us is when the outcome happens to you. Okay, so it's very easy. Most people do it is to blame other people, have excuses, do all these things in life. But when you understand that no one, like in the SEAL teams, for instance, no one cares about your excuse. History doesn't care. If you don't accomplish the mission, you don't accomplish it. You don't accomplish it. I don't care if you have a sore ankle or you didn't have enough resources. So one of the things we do with the students very early on is we frame this up. And how do you break excusing yourself from failure? Because you don't want to anchor your life to a failure. And once you make excuses, that's what you do. So we start off, and there's three things when a student, we always task them to do more than they can get done. So we teach them prioritization by doing so. It's like, here's a bunch of things you got to do, get it done. You don't have any time. So there's three answers. Did you get when we ask them, did you get it done? And they're like, yes, no, or I messed up. That's the polite way of saying it, but that's it. There's no excuses. Well, I had to do this and I did no, because you need to start training the brain to stop excusing yourself, because that's what victims do. And victims are always dragging the past behind them with them and making excuses for themselves. Yeah, we start with that mindset. It's like you have to own the outcome. When that outcome is the national mission of this country, do you think anyone actually cares that you didn't have enough resources? No, they don't. So we teach them innovation, and innovation is a mindset, as you know, entrepreneurship is a mindset. And you're going to take a lot of failures. You're going to take a lot of hits, but you continue moving on and moving forward. So that's really what we're getting at.
That's so cool. So what's the timeline then? You had the your upbringing and you decided to be positive and not be a victim. And so you met the Navy SEAL and you started becoming a SEAL in training. And then where did the connection come between business and entrepreneurship, and then also the Navy SEAL mindset? Like, did you start launching businesses or training or speaking, or what was your story there?
Well, kind of all of the above. When I retired from the SEAL teams, and one of the hard questions that we all ask ourselves is, now what? So I had a now what moment, and I couldn't figure it out. And even when I wrote my first book, bestseller, and it was still like, now what? So that's when I got into the working with children, with kids, because I'm like, it's got to be something more than that. And a lot of speaking, and I've done a lot of things in Los Angeles where we're working with different things, but I think it's just for us, it's just to keep moving forward, keep doing something really cool. And I've realized that the SEAL mindset is perfect for the entrepreneur world, because we have a term we use in the planning cycle as a SEAL. It's called VUCA. That's an acronym: volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Basically chaos. So we accept up front, that's how we have to plan. And that fits into the entrepreneur world, because entrepreneurs know that, well, there's so much unknown, and that can freeze most people up. There's no certainty. There's no known. You're making things up as you go, but you have to push forward. You have to have what I call is an offensive mindset. Right? You have to, it's a cause and effect relationship with life. And you have to make that cause. Be the cause, not the effect. And that's because, there were places, and I know people listening to this might be scared, but during the Iraq and the Afghanistan wars, there were times when there was no playbook for us. We were sent to go do things, and it was no mission statement. It's like, go do whatever you can do to fix this problem. And people are, and SEALs respond to that kind of environment. Like, hey, I like that VUCA. I like that chaos, right? Because we've taught ourselves during our training and to fall in love with chaos. And that's kind of what entrepreneurship is, right? You create a different relationship with these things. And it's kind of becomes sexy. You're like, yeah, hell, I like knowing. I don't like being a house cat, so to speak.
Right.
I like being a feral animal.
Trained, yeah. So do you have this mindset that's always like this, in that sense? Like, do you attack every single problem, large or small,
with this mindset? Like not that it's a worst case scenario, but is that one of the secrets that you find, or can you kind of disengage that? Like, you know what, this is as an intense situation compared to, you know, battle or combat or whatever it may be.
Well, no, I think I attack most problems like that. I don't get scared of the unknown. I just don't. It's just not in me anymore. I'm like, yeah, you know, because my partner and I, he's a serial entrepreneur. We're starting this, you know, Sealpreneurship program, and we've been full court pressed, you know, to do this. And you know, it's in the school system that we're working with the juvenile school systems. It's a lot of government bureaucracy, a lot of wrenches thrown into our planning. But you know, we just kind of keep chugging forward. That's, you know, once you fall in love with adversity, once you fall in love with that, then that is a welcome guest. And people used to ask me that, and they were like, well, even like the combat experiences, you know, like post-traumatic stress and all those kind of things people talk about. I think once you can take these things and turn them not into a home invader in your mind, but as a welcome guest, that's kind of when you start to be able to accept that adversity. That's part of my life.
Wow,
So
that is,
take it into the rest of the world.
that is so counterculture to what, like, even how I was raised. Like I grew up with a lot of fear, and like fear was like not my friend in a good way. Fear was just this like familiar being in my life, and if it wanted to come in, come out, it had control, it had power over me. And fear causes you to do crazy things and be emotional and react and not think. And so I love that pivot, that mindset shift. That is crucial right there. That's helping me right now to not, is it almost like you expect it? Like we're going to expect like all hell to break loose and that's okay? Or what is that?
It's like failure. It's like things are going to go wrong. Okay, fine. Got it.
Yeah.
I can't really say it out. We call things, you know, we call getting a raw deal.
Sure.
Right. Sometimes you get a random, and I won't say the word, butt whipping. Right. And if you look at it raw spelled backwards, it's war. And that's the kind of mindset. Sometimes you just get hurt, or some things just happen. That's it. Stop right there, regroup, and get in gear. You know, my next book, you're talking about fear, and I will plug this out there. And my next book that I'm on contract with McGraw-Hill about, and I'm writing right now, is called Guts: Greatness Under Tremendous Stress. So all your listeners are going to be the first one to hear that. So it's going to be out in the spring probably, but it's going to deal with this mindset and this way of doing it yourself. Because a lot of people, you know, they have beliefs and they don't know where they got them, and they, you know, they'll form their own beliefs by negative self-talk. They'll do all kinds of things to really harm themselves. Like, well, we can stop that real quick if you actually believe you have free will. And I believe anybody that, you know, believes that, you know, they have free will can change themselves.
Sure.
So, yeah.
I love that. I think there's such potential in every human being, and they just don't know it. You know, for example, you got somebody that's addicted to drugs and destroying their life and all their relationships. And it's like, I get that there's medication that's needed. I get that there's mental health issues and things like that. And there's help for that. But I just feel like the mindset, if they're willing to try and work with you and talk with you and make a life change, it's like, I see such great potential in every person I meet.
But you have to get through their belief system. Their belief system has been formed by whatever proof they've gotten in their life. You know, maybe they're like, well, that's just the way it is. My family said this. I'm like, hang on. Do you believe you can change? Because free will is a fundamental belief of being a human being, right? We're human beings and God gave us his life, then we have free will.
Yep.
So we can decide that, make that choice. You make that choice in your mind. And this is, I work with the kids on this, is like, once you make a choice, that means you own it. And once you own it, statistically speaking, you fall in love with it, because anything you own, you like more, you value more. And once you value it more, then you can move forward.
What do you think about as far as like, if you're working with somebody that's maybe has a proper belief system or mindset that's not good, it's a victim mentality, whatever it may be. I'm curious your take on just the word anger and just comfort. You know, like I've met a lot of people that are comfortable in life, and they're comfortable with like maybe their 9-to-5 job that pays them just enough so they don't quit, and they do just enough work so that they don't get fired. What do you see like in your history working with people that maybe have that mindset of like, because personally, I think that anger is crucial. I think you need to be fed up and uncomfortable to stir you out of, you know, to get out of that comfortable kind of toxic nest, if you will.
Living life without a purpose, without a higher purpose, is like going to a dance without music. Okay. Huh. You can do it, but it's not going to give you that thrill. So I teach this to businesses as well, because I have a leadership company. is that, when you find purpose, find the why, as I say, but you find it, something that really drives you, and it's always outside yourself, right? There's not, in my opinion, most people understand that meaning of life doesn't come inside you. It's outside you. So when you find something that drives you higher than yourself, then that'll put that music in your life. And when you do that, you don't just go to work and, survive and eat your dinner and wait to die. You actually enjoy what you're doing. You thrive on it. One of the simple things I teach these executives, and which they love, I teach them the MOM principle, right? Mom leadership. Like, what does that mean? I'm like, well, mission, others, me. That is how we teach the SEALs. Hey, you eat last. Officers, I was an officer. When it comes to eating, you get in the back of the line, let all your troops eat first. It's simple gestures, but that makes you a happier person. So maybe it's even selfish, but yeah, mission, others, me. It's real simple.
So we're almost at time. This has been so good. I need to take some time to slow this down and listen to it again. This is really, really helpful, seriously. But with that, what's a final thought? What's something that's kind of been on your mind, something you're seeing in the world, or something you'd want to share with our listeners in closing?
I think that I've come to realize, and I knew this back when I was serving in the SEAL teams, and especially in combat, it was really glaring to me that being a steward of society, being a steward of my marriage, being a steward of my son, just being a steward is one of the most rewarding things a person can do. And I think if everyone looked at themselves and looked at their role in society is a steward, then I think we'd have a better world. And I think it can start with one or two people. And those people, and not only will it be a better world, but they will be fulfilled. Because happiness, I don't believe happiness, I don't believe it's things. I don't believe it's accomplishments. I believe that fulfillment is what happiness is. And fulfillment only comes with giving. And that's what stewards are. They protect people. It's like the MOM principle. Missions, other, me.
So good. Well, I don't want to add anything else to that. Ed, where can people find out more about you and your work?
Oh, they can go on edhiner.com, and pretty soon we're going to start Sealpreneurship website and our company. We're going to actually launch this company pretty soon. We have a podcast series we're stacking up, video series we're stacking up before we launch. And we're going to this is one of the most exciting things I've ever done. After this summer school pilot that we're doing with these foster kids, which every one of them gave us, it's just already changing their life. But we're in touch with we're working closely with the superintendent and the executive director of all juvenile schools in San Diego. Kids that are foster, homeless, been in the system, and we plan on touching all 5,000 of them, starting just with them, and then branching out across the country to change the mindset of kids. Because look, I first started this, we were looking at recidivism, because if you look at recidivism in the prison system, it's horrific. 80% of the people in certain states go back to prison within 5 years. So, because it's a systemic problem of society, and it starts with children. If kids have a hard luck life, they follow this path, and it's just unbelievable how unfortunate they are. So we want to be like a social entrepreneur organization and sort this problem out.
That's so cool. And help them train them up. Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah, train them up, man. That's what I think the world is going to become, because nonprofits and all that have been around for a long time, but nonprofits bring with it almost like government. They bring weird limitations, but social entrepreneur stuff is going to be the way of the future. People will solve problems. These entrepreneurs, let them tackle the problem, they'll solve the problems. The government will not solve our problems. These guys will. Yeah,
because I believe it's more agile. There's not, like you said, there's not all this red tape.
I worked for the government for a long time. It's awful.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's terrible. I think this next generation, dude, is going to change the world so quickly. It's almost like once we invented the automobile, horses went away. So horse manure in cities went away. So these kids are going to figure it out. They're going to let their brain work, and they're going to sort it out. They're going to make money doing it, which is nothing, wrong with that.
Yep.
And sort our problems out.
Well, Ed, this has been super helpful today. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We'll make sure that we promote everything. We'll put every link that you have that we can drive people to in our show notes. So as you're listening, you guys can scroll down and see that. We'll have it on the website and the iPhone app and Spotify and all those good places as well. So make sure you check out Ed's website. Get 1 to 10 copies of his book, First, Fast, Fearless, and check that out. You can get it anywhere books are sold. Ed, thank you so much for coming on today. This has been awesome.
I appreciate it. Thanks a bunch, fella.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of EntreNito. We'd like to invite you to visit us on the web at EntreNito.com, and here's some of the neato things you can expect when you get there. As a token of our appreciation for tuning in, you can download a free audiobook, and that's thanks to our friends at Audible. You can purchase your very own super official, super comfy, and super trendy Neato t-shirt. Looking to take your life and business to the next level? You can sign up for a free coaching call. Have a question or comment for us? You can click contact and connect with us. All of this and more is waiting for you at EntreNito.com. Finally, don't forget to subscribe to our show and stay current on all the amazing interviews with our Neato guests. Now take what you've learned and apply it and start living your Neato life now.